Well, hello everybody. First of all, I know it's early, but I do require your participation, so I'm expecting you to participate. So I'll start with a question. First of all, who here has ever owned your own business, or is running a business now, or wants to start a business one day? Please show your hand and say hi. 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 Awesome. You're only half asleep. Great. Okay. I require one lucky volunteer from those people who raise their hands. Come on. Volunteers? No? Yeah? Okay, no. You only need to hold on to this for now. I'll tell you later why. So, all of you who raised your hands, you might find this quite interesting. My goal today is to give people more self-belief by answering this question, am I an entrepreneur? And for the rest of you, the doors are now locked. No, actually, thank you for being here. I believe this question deserves clarification from everybody, actually. So here we go. Micro enterprises and sole traders are very important for most economies around the world. In UK, from 9.2 million businesses, 96% are micro businesses. You might have heard that since recession, the startup rate in UK is at a 40-year record high, basically. But you may not have heard that it's due to two reasons. First of all, more people over 65 are continuing their businesses. And secondly, recession forced people to start up. So it's actually that it's less younger people who are starting those businesses. Why is that? It might be due to several factors like economic conditions or opportunities. However, I believe there is another underlying reason that we don't talk about or even actually realize. The English language is something that unites all 60 different ethnic groups living in the UK. What would you think if I would say the word entrepreneur has actually been misused since the beginning, and is also misleading to the same people who should be assuming the title? This is resulting in fear towards starting up and pressure that stops people from becoming entrepreneurs. And that also contributes to the high failure rate of startups. Wouldn't this be an idea worth spreading? Okay, so the rest of my talk will tell you a little bit more about how I discovered this. First of all, I'm originally from Estonia. My parents both own their own businesses, so I've been really lucky to learn from them when I was growing up. And I also blame them for being an entrepreneur now. On my journey to here, I have been an explorer, journalist, reporter, entrepreneur twice, student. I've lived in Estonia, in America, and now in UK for the past 5.5 years. After graduation, I decided for some reason that I wanted to come to Bournemouth University to do my degree. I don't know why. Maybe it was temporary madness, because I had never been to UK before. But then one day, I discovered myself actually on this campus, and I was thinking, oh my God, what have I done? But it all turned out well actually. 18 months ago, I started my own business, Elray, which is a children's rainwear designer brand. It's a mouthful. And we set out to change the industry and bring an innovative product to the market. And, you know, it was really great. We were expanding to Europe and so on. Life was like a peach. Until one day, I realized I didn't really know who I was anymore. That was when the entrepreneurial identity crisis had hit me. So I knew how it felt to be an employee. It was defined role, secure. I was given my spot within the framework, and that was it. There were no questions from the others or from myself. It's kind of comfy, like sleeping in a shoe. However, this time things got a bit blurry, and it was really weird. Something interesting happened. Depending on where I was, in which country I was, who I was talking to, my definition of who I was seemed to be changing. So I started to look into it. Okay, so the word entrepreneur can be defined, translated very directly into other languages. For example, in Estonian, it's ettevõtja. In Swedish, it's företagare, and so on. So that's simple, but, and also, all of these languages usually have one similar definition, which is a legal entity, business or sole trader, someone who undertakes a venture and offers products or services as their main business activity. So that's that. However, when you look at the British definition, the meaning seems to be different somehow. So let's look at UK now. You might be surprised to learn that there is no one holistic definition of who an entrepreneur is in the English language. Interesting, right? There's this definition from 1725, which is from Richard Cantillon, and he says, it's a person who pays a certain price for a product to resell it at uncertain price, making decisions, using resources, and admitting risk of enterprise. So, to start out with, it's quite complex, but let's give him a break, it was a long time ago. Since then, the researchers and scholars have added a lot of different characteristics of who an entrepreneur should be. Up to one of the most recent ones, which talks about change and pioneership. So that's completely different extreme. Don't worry, it gets even better. Let's look at Collins, the modern dictionary. In addition to all of the above mentions, entrepreneur has to be successful, been in business, wealthy, and it would be really great if they could be flamboyant, like Richard Branson. That would help, right? Okay, but then the scholars say, don't worry, these characteristics can be learned and developed. That's awesome. So now we need our volunteer. Please come here. Woo! So, do you mind please reading what's on your paper? And everybody else, have a think, and then, raise your hand if you feel like you possess all these characteristics. There you go.
I'm an aggressive team leader. I think individually. I'm extremely analytical, yet trust my gut feeling. I'm innovative and resourceful. I take massive risks when outcome is completely uncertain, so I don't know what's going to happen, but I trust my gut feeling, and that's 100% right. However, when failure hits, I'm completely positive, because I have the ability to control my own future and work really hard towards a flamboyant vision and succeed by bringing a major innovation to the market. And of course, through all this, even if it takes 20 or 30 years, I have the self-confidence of steel at all times.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. Brilliant. Okay, so who wants to give up now? No, actually, I'd like to go back to the list of languages and point out something, that the word entrepreneur in the British English, the British culture and in the English language, is from symbolic and linguistic meanings misleading, basically. So, as part of my research, I started to walk around and ask people to name some entrepreneurs, and this is what I got. Richard Branson, Bill Gates, Richard Branson, Steve Jobs, Richard Branson, Richard Branson, Richard Branson, and Bill Gates. And of course, they have to change the markets, they have to be innovators, they have to stand out, they have to. Okay, so from here I realized two things. Firstly, I think this nation and maybe the world is a bit obsessed with Richard Branson, probably, but that is another talk, that's my talk. And secondly, it seems that the picture that the society holds in our heads about who entrepreneurs are is based on role models who are 30 years or so ahead of us, who have fully developed, profitable, successful businesses. I just wanted to show you that William Henry Bill Gates III is an American business magnate, philanthropist, investor, computer programmer, and innovator. He's one of the wealthiest men in the world, and in 2014 his wealth had reached more than the whole GDP of Iceland. I don't think it's realistic to expect from somebody who's starting a business to reach his level in 1, 2, or 5 years' time. So, the word entrepreneur actually comes from an adopted French word, which is spelled exactly the same, however, the meaning is different. Even in the French language, it means simply somebody who's studying venture. Have you ever heard the saying, your business is like your baby? Yeah? Okay. So, by this British English definition, it's kind of like wishing to be a grandmother once you just had a baby. It really doesn't make any sense. And that's because there's a difference between somebody who's done it successfully for years and somebody who's just at the beginning of this journey. Everybody who gives up their comfortable and safe employment to start a venture should have the right to call themselves an entrepreneur without the fear of judgment. And not wait until one day you mysteriously have, become mega rich and mega successful, because you know what? That might not happen. And even if it does, there's always the next big dream, the next big mountaintop to climb, and so on. So you never really arrive at success. It's all about the journey, not the destination, really. Entrepreneur's life for the first few years is hell. But somebody has to do it. The world needs more Bransons. But the thing is, not everybody will become a Branson, or also not everybody has to become a Branson. The bottom line in the end of the day of starting a business is to generate profits and to sustain yourself as an entrepreneur. So the failure rate at the same time is quite high, and sometimes people look at statistics. At least that's what I think. They look at the statistics, and it seems that people think, that's just the way things are. I don't agree with that attitude. I think starting a venture as an entrepreneur is one of the toughest jobs from day one, and these people should be prepared. So we should set realistic expectations for anybody who wants to start their own business. And that's something we can do. Well, we can start doing this by defining the words we use better. One of the main success factors in entrepreneurship is self-belief, which comes from two things: knowing who you are, where you're going, owning your identity, and also having realistic expectations and believing that you can achieve what you're setting out to do. Don't get me wrong, you should have big dreams, that's great, but you still need to be realistic. Even the dreamers need to be realistic when it comes to markets and business. Because as soon as you look at the startup failure rates, startup failure reasons, it becomes real very fast. You can see that even if you have the best innovation that you can think of, if there's no market needs, there's probably no future. How about we define this question right here, right now, simply and clearly, without any unrealistic expectations? Would you want to know, are you entrepreneurs? Yeah? Okay, awesome. So pay attention, you're going to be tested on this later. Actually, you are. So there's 3 tick points. And the first is, are you an owner of a legally registered business entity, sole trader, limited company, or so on? Secondly, are you developing or offering a product or service? If you tick these 2, congratulations, you're a investor or business owner, businesswoman, businessman. However, the third one, you are personally actively involved in the business to fulfill either a vision, plan, or strategy. If you take that one, you're an entrepreneur. So, there's a few other things like innovation and R&D and kind of other things beyond that, and people might have questions, what about this and what about that? All of that comes afterwards. This is what answers the question. Everything else is kind of like an add-on. Very important, yes, but it comes afterwards. Okay, so who now knows they have been or they are an entrepreneur? Raise your hands. Awesome. Yes. Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Okay. So, you don't have to change the world to be able to call yourself an entrepreneur. It's kind of like being a parent. You yourself determine with time how good of a parent you are. You might make mistakes along the way. That's okay. You have learned a lot. And you can always improve on everything. You know, if not with the first child, then the second or the third. And perhaps then one day you can become a grandparent, and that's another playing field, because you can, you know, have fun with your grandchildren during daytime and then go home and sleep peacefully whilst your children are up with a crying baby whole night. And as a last thought, even if your venture fails, don't take it as a negative, because sometimes things just don't work out for whatever reason. And the tendency might be to feel ashamed or want to forget about it, or actually, just look at the facts. You're just changing a job. It's just a job title, really. And when you do experience this change, and somebody then comes along and asks you, so, what have you been doing for the past 2 years? Say confidently and proudly, I was an entrepreneur, and it was it was the craziest, most amazing learning experience of my life that challenged me to the core and changed me into who I am today. What have you done lately? Thank you.